Well, hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are we doing in this marvelous August?
Trying to stay cool.
Yeah, it's strange, because in Colorado, there's the first signs of trees are actually changing colors. First signs already for fall.
No,
it's crazy.
No,
I'm not listening.
Yeah,
La 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 la.
yeah.
I've had enough of 100-degree days.
yeah, it's crazy. So Brad, you're joining us today, right?
Yes. I'm
So where
in
are you
Colorado.
located?
I'm in Colorado.
Colorado.
Yep.
So what's your location in Colorado?
I'm in Centennial.
Perfect. You and I are basically neighbors.
Oh, okay.
I just moved to Littleton.
Okay, yeah, real close.
In fact, you and I have the same thing. You and I have the same, I think you're in the same spot I am in my house with the same archway going into my kitchen.
Okay, yeah, we've got one of those. Yeah, it seems to be the best light in the house, so.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Yep. Well, good. Well, thank you for joining us today.
You bet. Yeah.
I love it. We have like a Rocky Mountain forum today, except for Howard, you messed things up.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm on the East Coast.
No, we
We
like
had
the
an
New
all
Yorkers.
Colorado forum today.
We like the New Yorkers, but you know what? Those of us that are in Denver, we all have the arched entryways. And those of you in Durango have like the rustic cabin look. Am I right?
I mean, my house is actually a converted horse stable. So
Oh,
if you
wow,
hear
that's
some
cool.
if you hear some neighing, there are horses right here next to me. So
Wow.
hopefully this location is going to work out for today.
So yeah, this is the difference between those of us in Colorado. You could live next to a horse stable, or you could live in the Front Range where we all have arched, doorways, fancy arched doorways. That's the difference between us. Or you can be a New Yorker like Howard, who's got the picture of, what is that picture behind you, Howard?
That's the Flatiron Building.
Is that in New York?
Oh, yes, it is.
There you go. So we all have diversity here. A lot of times we have Sumit here, but he is not here. He's from India. And Jules, who oftentimes hosts us, is in California. So she gives us the actress point of view. So
And Howard, if I was in my office, you'd see my background being a bunch of Yankee memorabilia. I'm a big Yankee fan.
Yes.
Even though I'm from the Midwest.
Now we're talking.
rock on.
It's 10
All
o'clock.
There
Oh,
we
it's
go.
10 o'clock. Well, hey, everyone, let's get kicked off today. Well, we are so excited to have everyone join us as we pull up our screen. This is the People Strategy Forum. So this is a place where we engage, energize, and evaluate your employees and your company. So I have to tell you, this has been an amazing journey. Sam, Reeve, and I have been working together for several years now with Comp Team and have been sponsoring this event. And we're so happy to have you join us today. So we talk about ways to really energize and have great employees and support your employees as an employer. So hello, my name is Char Miller, and I'm a people strategist. And I would like to cover these wrinkles, but I have been in this industry for a long time. I've been here half my life. I've actually been an HR person, talent management strategist, and I've in the last 6 or 7 years or so, I've had the luxury of running and operating my own small businesses. So although I've been telling all these companies how to run their businesses from a people perspective, now I get to really apply it with my own companies. So it's a pleasure being here as your host. Also happy to have Howard. He is here as a rewards and systems strategist. And boy, I have to tell you, I need to tap into his mind because he is great as far as compensation and strategy, and also is an amazing team member on Comp Team. So welcome, Howard. And also, I just want to mention that we have Wendy here, Wendy Graham, and she is Her little face is not on here. It should be. It will be soon. But she is a great hostess. And boy, I talk about from we haven't known each other long, right, Wendy? But you're a people strategist as well as a learning and development expert, and have really worked to champion the OD space, as well as you are a master diver and many other things, right, Wendy?
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And you're going to help us out today with the conversation. And
Definitely.
then Sumit Singla is not going to be joining us today. He is from India, but he also has an amazing background, but he is not joining us today. And then also want to mention Sam Reeve is our notorious CEO and owner of ComTeam, and also he's been so fabulous in sponsoring this entire event for the last several years and working and partnering with all of us with ComTeam, and just an expert in all the areas. So welcome everyone, we are your hosts. So today we are so excited to have an expert, I love this, contributor, I love that term, expert contributor, Brad Jeffress. And I probably said your name wrong, right, Brad?
Oh, you said it exactly right.
Oh my goodness. So you have financial background, you're also a dream coach, and you have some great expertise around one-on-one coaching. And you also provide some real honest, forthright feedback and championing employees through their goals and getting through their dreams and aspects. And I know that that's all about business. So I'd like to introduce today Brad. And I know Wendy has been talking with Brad as well. So hi, Brad, would you like to tell us what Dream Coach is and what you're all about?
Well, yeah, Dream Coach is, the way we formed this was around a book that I read called The Dream Manager. And it's really a vehicle at our company to help our employees achieve what dreams they have, not just in business, but in their personal lives, kind of with the premise that if people are happier, more fulfilled personally, they're going to do better at work. And so my job is really just to listen and facilitate, ask questions, and get people to think about and take action on the dreams that they want to achieve in life.
I find that amazing. I have to tell you, I call it, I said this earlier with you, I call it Vita Vision, which is like life vision. And it's about transforming life and career and jobs. And I do think that right now that many of us are going through major transformation, metamorphosis, whatever you want to call it, not just because of what's happening in our world today. But I think not only businesses are going through this change, but also employees and individuals. So like, for example, I left corporates, 6 or 7 years ago, started my own companies. But I mean, it's like, what is your dream? How are you going to focus on your dream? What's your goals? What are you going to do to transform? How do you go from A to B? Because that's a major life transformation. So is that what your focus is on?
Yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff. I tend to be kind of a little bit of everything. Some people in our company use me for a coach, a mentor. I've been at our company for 34 years. So some people just want to tap into my expertise in our business. I was in sales, so a lot of our salespeople use me. Other people really want true coaching, where it's, hey, I want to get better at this. I don't even know what my goals and dreams are. Help me, figure out what those are, and help me figure out ways to, start to achieve those. And then, quite honestly, and especially in these last couple of years, Char, it's been a lot of almost counseling where people have used me just to talk out loud about stuff that they haven't been able to talk out loud to somebody else about because of all that's going on in their life and so forth.
Right. I totally think your services are needed. I want to ask Wendy, what's your thoughts? You have a relationship here. What are your thoughts about this service?
Well, you know what? For me, this story is so compelling. Brad's story is so compelling. And so I thought it'd be interesting if we even took a step back, because Brad had a speaking of transformation, had a life-changing experience that then led you to rethink your dream job, which became the dream coach. So it's like so many layers. So I'd love to hear your story, because I love these transformation stories, and I think it's so relevant to what everyone is going through right now, and people who are at that pivot point where they're just not sure, and this is how we get energized to to either keep going or find something new. So I love your story. Tell us, Brad.
Yeah. So my background is I've been in the insurance industry for over 35 years, been at our company for over 34 years, and I was in sales most of that time. But I never really loved sales. I'm an introvert by nature, and so being in sales was always a little outside my comfort zone. But thankfully, I had some other attributes and skills that made me somewhat successful at it. But I never really loved it. I always knew I wanted to do something different. But I think, like a lot of people, I stayed in what I did because it was comfortable. And for me, quite honestly, I was starting to make more money, have more success, and the thought of doing something different that I thought maybe I would really love was kind of scary to step back financially and all those kind of things. And so anyway, for years and years, I went through all kinds of different things about, to figure out what I really wanted to do in life. And then about 15 years ago, I had a near-death experience in a raft trip and really started thinking about things differently. My faith became more important to me. At the time, I really thought maybe I should quit my job and go do something better for mankind. And a mentor of mine, a coach, had kind of told me that, maybe your mission feels right where you're at. You can influence and affect people right where you're at. And so I kind of used that for motivation for a while. And then about 8 years ago, I started having some health problems, had a couple of heart procedures, and thought, okay, I got to figure this life thing out. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I want to do something more that I want to do. And over the years, I had done a lot of different things. I picked 25 jobs I thought I'd like to do, and what are the pros and cons, and nothing ever resonated. And so started a kind of a different process. I sent a letter to 50 different people that I knew, friends, family, associates, clients, and asked them two questions. What do you think my gifts are in life? What do you think I'd be good at if I didn't do what I did today? And first of all, very humbling experience, because people really took a lot of time, really, got back to me with some great feedback. And 45 of the 50 said I should do some kind of coaching, mentoring, stuff that had to do with dealing with people, which I felt like that's where my heart was. I wanted to do something to help people. And when I look back at my sales career, I think that's what helped me be successful in sales. It was about trying to help the client achieve what they wanted to do. I wasn't in it necessarily for the money. It was more, how can I help them? And so kind of listen to that. Then about the same time, our company, which is a very forward-thinking company, had a sabbatical program. If you've been there for 15 or 25 years, you get a 1-month sabbatical. And I was coming up for that. We had just rolled that out. I was coming up for it. So I was going to take that and use that to really figure out what I wanted to do in life. And so I took that opportunity to meet with about 70 people within our company that worked on my clients' accounts to set a game plan while I was going to be gone for a month. And in those meetings, I was very honest with people and said, I love IMA, but I think it's time to do something different in life. And I'm not even sure I'm going to come back from this sabbatical. And as I started to open up to people, people started opening up to me about stuff going on in their lives. And what I really realized is everybody's got something. We all have something that we deal with or have dealt with or will deal with. And so kind of put that in a memory bank. Then I went on sabbatical. First day, a friend of mine gave me this book called The Dream Manager. Very cool story about this company that was struggling. Employees were leaving left and right. It just was not a very happy, good place to work. And this owner thought, I got to figure out something because I'm going to lose my company. And so he hired a consulting company. They came in, interviewed all his employees, and came back to him and said, boy, your employees have just lost hope in life. They don't know what they're working for, why they're working, what they're, if they do have goals and aspirations, they don't know how to get there. So he hired a person called the Dream Manager that would sit with people, try to figure out what they wanted to do. Kind of like I said earlier, the premise that from a business standpoint of if my employees are happier, fulfilled, they're going to do better and be happier here at work. So they started meeting with him. They started having, meetings, gaining some success on their goals. And all of a sudden, by the end of the book, this company was like the place to work in town. And I read that book the first day of my sabbatical. And I looked at my wife and said, this is it. I want to do something like this. And I kind of put it all together. And not that our company had, people that were, struggling, horribly or anything, but people had stuff going on. And so I basically spent the rest of the sabbatical, came up with a job description, came up with, why this would work at IMA, why it would benefit IMA, why it would benefit our people, and why me? Why should I be the one? Because I didn't have any coaching experience or expertise or anything. And so I came back from sabbatical, presented that to my CEO, and we talked about it for a few months and decided to give it a try. And I quite frankly thought this would be like a step towards retirement. I'm 65 now. I was 58 when I did this. And I thought it'd be a 1-year deal where I'd kind of do it for a while and then probably retire and do something different. And the job just took off. I mean, my schedule was full from day one, and it wasn't because of me. It was just that we allowed people to have a free space to talk out loud about something in a confidential area that they couldn't maybe have otherwise. And so that was 7 years ago, and been busy ever since.
Yeah, I have to, I'm reflecting here because when I left my corporate position in 2016 and started my own business, I had no idea that all this craziness was going to happen over the following years. It was interesting because I had a kind of in my heart, I knew that there was something going to happen, or there was going to be something that could inspire me to my dream job. It's very fascinating, the service that you provide. It's almost like you're ahead of your time. It sounds like also just really thinking about, how we can support employees and managers and companies kind of move beyond the traditional stagnant point of view about leadership and management, and help employees really really rely on their own hearts and dreams about what they want, because no employee is going to be very productive if they feel like the company doesn't support their dreams and ambitions, is my overall point, right? And I think that I've been attempting to apply that with my small companies, to say to my employees, I've worked in corporate America for 25 plus years. I do understand how employees don't feel like they're following their dreams and ambitions and their goals, and feeling very disengaged or very unhappy with their career. So how can companies really help you be more productive, more engaged, more excited about your career, your ambitions, and your dreams and your career? And so my point is, I think a lot of companies, a lot of owners, a lot of executives are really struggling with what are the steps to do that. It sounds very soft, but it's actually very tangible of the steps that you can take. So, what would be the original steps that a company would take to start building that kind of culture in their organization?
Yeah, I think just listening to the employees. I think what I would say the biggest thing that I've gained in the last 7 years that I've done this, the common theme throughout those years, that there's different times that different things have been hot topics, but the biggest thing that I hear from employees is they just want to be heard and seen, and valued. And I think our company is a great company and we have a great culture, but even we have a problem really encouraging people, and just going by somebody's desk and giving them a high five or a hug or something, acknowledging that they did a great job on something. And that's what I heard from a lot of people, is they just didn't feel valued. Especially if you're kind of in the grind of whatever job you're doing, I think a lot of times you can get lost on why you're doing what you're doing. And we don't tend to explain that to people. We just say, hey, do this. We don't tell them why it's meaningful, why it's purposeful. And so people kind of lose that meaning and purpose. That's why I think this works so well, because they then found meaning and purpose in the job providing. I tell people a lot of times is, don't look at this as a career. Look at this as a resource. It's a resource providing you money to do the other things that you want to do in life outside of work, whether it's volunteering, building a home, doing a side business, whatever it might be, something that's allowing you to have the resource to do those kind of things.
So why do you think that so many of us lose our dream? So I just met with my 22-year-old yesterday, and God bless her, she just moved out and she just got into her little apartment in Fort Collins, Colorado, right? And she luckily has graduated from college, but now she's, she needs to get a job to pay the bills, right? As many of us have to do. You got to get a job to pay the bills. then your job gets you kind of sucker holed in, no offense to the jobs, but
Yeah.
gets you into that sucker hole of I'm going to be a bartender for the rest of my life, or I'm going to be a customer service representative on a call where people are so rude to me all day, darn day. Where do I really find my dream, and how do I step out of not only building, paying the bills, but how do I build a dream on top of just paying the foundational bills? Because I think many of us are so darn overwhelmed. I look at her and I say, oh my gosh, she has to pay rent, she has to pay her bills now, and she wants to go back and get her graduate degree and follow her dreams. I mean, how does she have the time to do that? How do people manage all of that? It's so overwhelming. So what do you recommend?
The biggest thing I recommend is to look at it in small pieces. I think what happens to a lot of us is we get overwhelmed because we look at, I've been, I've struggled with that myself. Is I look at, here, I'm right here, I want to be here. And you look at that. One of my favorite things is a concept called "Live in the Gain Instead of the Gap" by Dan Sullivan. And it's that concept that we often live in that gap of, I'm here, I want to be here. And it just seems so large, so far away to get that you don't do anything. So you just stay put where you are. But we forget about the gain that we started way back there and all the things that we did to get here. And it's kind of remind yourself that you've done a lot of the things that you need to do to get to where you want to be. You just have to remind yourself. And just, I would tell you, Char, the biggest thing that I've seen from people in the years I've done this is people just don't take that first step. It's taking that first step is the biggest thing. And you don't have to take the step all the way to where you want to be. It's just that first step to start to just take the time to dream about what I want to do or what I want to be. And that's what I did for years. I knew I wanted to do something different for a long, long time. And I kept stacking up all these different things about, books to read and articles to, read and all this kind of stuff that would tell me about purpose and meaning and stuff like that. But I never took the time to do it. We are so busy in life. And we all say, well, I'll get the time, this weekend or whatever. You never get time. You have to make time. And that's what I stress to a lot of people is you've got to be very intentional and make time to think about the things you really want to make happen in your life, and then make time to start to make those kind of things happen. But you have to be very intentional to do it because time just doesn't fall in your lap kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that Sam's also commenting on this about taking small goals. Right now I have to personalize this because right now I just moved to Littleton, right? And I have a garage, it was a 3-car garage, just packed full of boxes, right? All that crap, all that stuff, hoarder tendencies. And I keep saying in my head, okay, elephant bites, elephant bites, elephant bites. And, I think that relates to people in their career and the progress they make in their life. I mean, just step back and say, okay, yeah, I have a garage full of crap in my garage, or I have all this stuff in my life that's kind of feeling like a weight on my chest that to move through. But if I could just take small bites and move towards that overall goal and have that overarching goal to where I want to be, it makes it a bit less overwhelming. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Because I do believe, in my opinion, right now, there's so many of us going through major transformation. I also do some career coaching, and I have people reaching out to me right now, like, I need a change. I'm confused. I don't know if I should be working from home. I'm not sure that this company is the right mind frame for me. I live in Colorado and the cost of living is getting so high that I think I need to relocate. I need to change my whole mindset. I mean, I would say right now is probably, I don't know, I'm not scientific here, but do you not agree that right now major shift is happening? I wish there were some numbers. If Sumit was here, he would tell us the numbers. There's major change happening with people transforming their life and their career and what they're doing, and companies, what they're doing with their employees. Do you agree?
I totally agree. I think that's the whole Great Resignation. I struggle with it, and I don't like to see it from a standpoint of all the companies not having people to, take care of what needs to happen in their companies. But I admire people that are taking the leap of faith that, hey, if I quit this job I don't really love and start doing something I really want to do, then I think you're just going to be happier. That's something that I always told my kids, and I never really lived it. I mean, I was
Yeah.
I was making very good money. I make a fraction of what I made as a salesperson, but I'm a million times happier because I'm more aligned with who I am today. But it's hard for most of us to make that leap. It was hard for me. I mean,
Mhm.
if I stayed true to myself, I would have done it years and years ago, but I didn't. I kind of waited till I had a little bit of nest egg built up to then take that risk that, of a job shift, a salary change, and those kind of things.
Well, I have to say that I think that it's a major retention initiative for companies to present themselves in a very different light from a retention and recruitment standpoint, to say that we are a company that's going to support your dreams, that's going to support your transformation in your life and career at this point in time, which is a strategy that I've used in my personal companies to say, I know you're going through a lot of change and I want to support you with that. So for example, my company is, made part-time opportunities, very, very nice pay with, and support compensation with comp teams help to support my employees, but to say that we want to support your dream and that we are not going to be a barrier to what we develop. So what do you think, Wendy? I mean, you've got a lot of thoughts
Well,
about this.
yeah, I mean, well, what this conversation brought up for me is actually how I even got connected to Brad. And just like, I know we don't have a data point, but we have a real life person, who brought this all together. And that's my best friend from the 5th grade, who I've been we've been coaching each other for years, and especially these last couple of years. And she was just, I mean, there's so much to this, so one piece is she'd been with her company, that she just moved to IMA. Okay. And so the short part of the story is basically she was like, this company is so awesome. And they even have this job called the Dream Coach. And she was just so excited to go work for this company. So for me, that is the proof that it actually was a selling point for her. She jumped ship. She left a company she'd been with for 15, 18, 20 years. And that jumping ship, I mean, that's another piece, that change, and being able to feel confident to really pivot after you've been comfortable, you've got your team down, all of that. And sometimes what I feel like I've learned is sometimes just change for change's sake is healthy, and then even better, like Brad, you identified something that really you were passionate about and gave you meaning and re-energized you so much that instead of lasting one more year in your role, you lasted, all this time and were able to go up until your retirement age, that you'd sort of already planned on. And so I just think this is such a rich story because it's attracting people in, it's giving people energy, renewed energy, and giving people confidence to try something new, to take that leap of faith, to pivot. And I know in my own life, I lost my husband suddenly, and at that moment I was rethinking everything, what is important right now to me. And I know that's why I really resonated with your story, Brad, is wait a minute, what am I doing, and our time is so limited, it could be gone like this, so how are we going to spend it? And I'm just so grateful that always in the back of my head, I thought, yeah, I'd love to be a consultant and I'd love to go down that path, but I never had the confidence to take the leap of faith. And then basically, life events and a global pandemic basically held my hand through the process. Sam helped me walk through the process, and it wasn't hard at all. And it was just wow, in my mind, just not that long ago, this was really a big deal. And then when it happened, it wasn't a big deal at all. It was just so natural and easy. And I think that also when things fall into place like that, and you just instead of trying to swim upstream. And, actually, if you just follow the current, then sometimes maybe that's also an indication that you're flowing in the right direction. So anyways, those were lots of thoughts.
Yeah, one thing I just want to bring up here real quick, because Wendy, I want to stay on this topic for just a minute. This topic being you, because you've done something extraordinary. I mean, you have gone through a life shock, something as well as something that was very, it was horrible, right? And then I know that you packed your life full of lots of activities. I mean, you're super busy at work. I know how busy you are. But the thing is that you made room for your dreams. I mean, yeah, through that entire process, I mean, you recognized the things that you love, dance, scuba, and you've advanced on those pieces. So tell us how you sorted through the noise and the anxiety, the stress, the sorrow, to make all that happen for yourself.
Well, first thing first is just this comp team, honestly becoming a consultant, in a way, was my dream job, right? So because I literally dreamed of sitting on this porch and working, and guess what I'm doing today? I'm sitting on my porch and working, and I didn't want to work for someone who judged me for not wanting to come in. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't also want that, but I think there's just days where you want to sit on your porch and, and work. And so the pandemic combined with being able to work for comp team, really opened up all those possibilities. And, that would have been relevant before my husband passed, but going through that grief and healing process, I needed to be able to go and cry if I needed to. And when you're at work, you just can't do that. So actually, you can interview my grief counselor, but she'll tell you that I did my work, and everyone's on their own time frame with that. And I certainly grieve every day still, but I was able to grieve and heal because of the flexibility of where I was working and the company I was working for, and the fact, so that's one huge piece. And the second huge piece is, like, Sam, you practice what you preach. So you model the behavior that we're allowed to do, which is, you plan an amazing adventure for your family every summer, and you show us that it's possible to work remotely in Iceland or Portugal or wherever you are. And that showed, Char can work from Mexico. I can work from Mexico or Belize. We are all empowered because you lead by example. So I think that leadership is so important. And then the last piece, which you asked me about, is like, kind of how did I find, well, I'll just tell you, dance has always been my passion, and I've known that. So that's really clear to me, but it definitely does not pay the bills. And even close. It's like a hobby that maybe pays for itself. Maybe, And I think that's kind of more part of my retirement plan, of being able to do more dance teaching and leading and stuff like that. And so I want to do more. I want to build that up. And my plan is, of course, to do that, like, more now, and phase into retirement sooner, maybe. But the scuba, and what happened is I had an opportunity to go to my friend's place in Belize, and I hadn't been to a beach in so long because of the pandemic, and I just knew I had to get there. And even if I sat on the beach and worked, I knew that I needed to do that. And I found a cheap ticket, which is impossible, from Durango. And so I went, and I felt so good after those 10 days. What was it? And what I realized is being outside. So the key factors was I was outside, which I have here too, but that was outside. That's really important. I was with people. That was really important. I hadn't really been around a lot of people because of the pandemic. I was in the water. That's important to me too. And what I realized is I missed the classroom. I missed teaching. I wasn't able to teach dance that much during the pandemic. It was all over Zoom. So there wasn't that like human interaction that is really important for dance. And so I was missing being in the classroom as a corporate trainer and leader. You know, I wasn't having any of that because of the pandemic. And none of that was like looked like it wasn't even close to being on the horizon. And so I said, well, what can I do? And I said, I can become a scuba instructor. And so I didn't even know what that took. Okay. It was a lot of steps I didn't even know about. But I said that would mean I could be outside. I could be with people. I could be teaching all those things that I love. And so that's how I narrowed in on that, because the truth is I'm not that good of a scuba. I'm not that experienced of a scuba diver, or even that great of a scuba diver. I'm a lot better now because of all the training that I've been doing over the last year to pursue that piece. And so that's just how I tuned in, was like, what were the key elements that like I was so jazzed about, you know? And so that's maybe to answer finally a long answer to your question, Sam, about maybe to help people think about what is it that you just get, what are the common elements? And so even though I do a lot of different things, there are common elements, and it's being with people, it's teaching, you know, it's learning, constantly learning. I'm a lifelong learner. That's so important to me. So I encourage other people, especially people who are listening today, chime in on the chat, you know, with your questions or thoughts about what are the common elements for you, or how did you find your dream role?
That's great. Thanks for sharing, Wendy. That's so powerful to hear you say that. But one thing that I would like to dive in and hear more of your perspective, Brad, is that like what Wendy's story and your own story right now. I mean, the traditional work model of the past is that. I mean, I'm both Howard and I fell victim to this as well. I mean, you go to school, you start at you get that great job, and then you give that job your life for a long time, and they use it up, you know, and then but
And spit you out.
yeah. But you know, and they give you that 2 weeks and so forth. But the thing is that, you know, the life passes fast, right? There's times in our life where we need to enjoy those moments with our children, with our family, with our youth, you know, and I just personally, I find that we need to be careful of watching that time slip away from us, and we need to take advantage of our dreams as we go through. Because what I've found is that, you know, those pieces, those goals that we set out, those achievements of you know, having that and being a dance coach, or achieving your scuba degree or whatever, those things, those little milestones bring such happiness to our lives and can fulfill us and make us even be higher performers at our work. Are you seeing this as a big change that's going on, Brad?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking for those things, and the thing that I have found, Sam, it kind of goes back to my point about making the time to think about it, is I do an exercise with people a lot of times when they first come in, because a lot of times when people first come in to see me, some really, you know, just jump right in. They want to just start talking about something. Most of them, I think, have an idea what they want to talk about, but they don't know how to start that. So I do an exercise with people, and I ask them to let's go over their 5 H's: their history, their heroes, their honeys, their heartaches, and their hopes. And as we go through all those things, I get to really know them, and I interject. I mean, I'm an open book, and I try to show vulnerability when they show something that's, you know, maybe happened in their lives, and I'll, you know, kind of chime in that I've had, you know, similar things or whatever it might be. But what was always interesting to me when I got to hopes, you know, hopes and dreams, most people kind of, you know, pause for a minute and didn't know how to answer that. Most would go, especially if they had kids, they'd go, well, I want my kids to have a better life than me. I go, yeah, that's great. I love that. And I feel the same. But what about you? What do you want? And most people just don't take the time to think about that. And so I think for what I believe is that people in the last couple of years have had more time to really think about, what is it that I really want to do? You know, when they're sitting at home, when they're at a desk in the office and so forth, it's hard to kind of daydream a little bit. But at home, you can sometimes do that a little bit more. And I think it's allowed people to really have more time to think about what it is they really want in their life. And then it's a matter of starting to take action to take small steps to get there.
Well, I do think that I think it's fantastic what you're saying. I do feel many individuals, including myself, in the last several years, honestly, have been dealing with a little bit of loss and a little bit of chaos and confusion. It's almost like we're taking a jump off. I just think of the Titanic. I hate to say something negative, but you know, at times you feel like you're just jumping off the bridge of the Titanic. Not that we're committing suicide, but you're almost like jumping off into oblivion, as I think, you know. And I do believe that, you know, so for example, yesterday when I was driving home from Fort Collins through Boulder and coming up through my area up here in Littleton, you know, those guys with the parachutes, what do you call that? Body parachuting? What's the right word for that? Paragliding?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
What do you call
Paragliding.
that? Paragliding?
Paragliding, right?
I just honestly, I visualize like those girls and guys that have the courage to jump off the side of a cliff with their parachute and the paragliding parachute, have such bravery to jump off the cliff and float down amongst the wind and be able to glide down and not worry that they're going to crash and burn, right? And how do they have the bravery to do that? And I do believe, as a metaphor, that many of us are going through that period right now. Many of us, including myself, are just jumping off the cliff and have our little paraglide parachute. We're lifting it up. Hopefully it opens, and hopefully we get to our little target spot. But I feel that many individuals, including myself, have been like stagnated. Like, I'm so afraid to make that jump. I'm so afraid to make that leap of faith that I can land and do well and do better in my future. I also believe that many companies are not doing their employees justice by not giving them that culture and that environment to jump off the cliff with their parachutes. Okay. And so how can companies do that? How can companies create that safety zone so that employees feel free to be able to just jump and open up their parachutes?
Yeah, I think it's just allowing people to have the space to think and dream and act on what they want to do, that it's not just about work. You know, I think, you know, what I found in my life, I struggled a lot in my life with not feeling like I was enough. And so I always felt like I had to outwork people or out hustle people or you know, and if somebody was working 8 hours, I had to work 10 hours. If they worked 10, I had to work 12. I had to do more and more and more to prove my worth and so forth. And so I always did a lot more because I never felt like enough. And as I fell more into my alignment with, I think, who I am, I now want to still do more than most, but it's because I feel like I am enough, that I have stuff to give now. And so I think it's allowing people to get that just that mindset that you know, and that's where I mean, I loved how Wendy talked a little bit ago about how you can't, you know, companies don't allow you to have a place to cry. That's one area where I think that I've seen probably the biggest use of my job has been more like almost an internal EAP, where people come in and whether they're dealing with grief or dealing with fears or struggles on, boy, here's why I haven't been able to do what I want to do because I have this fear of this or this. I'm not qualified to be a counselor, but a lot of times it's just listening. It's truly listening, not to have a response, but just allow people to truly get off their heart what they need to get off. And then listening enough to know, you know, questions to ask to get them to think deeper and, you know, differently about what they've been, you know, doing or why they haven't been doing what they want to be doing. And so I think that's what's been probably the biggest key of this job is it's just, I say it all the time. It's that we allow people to come in to four walls and talk about something that they can't talk to somebody else, whether it's a personal thing or, a lot of times it's a business thing where, somebody has a struggle going on at home or wherever, and it's hard to tell your boss that because they're expecting you to perform to the utmost. And boy, this is going to be a sign of weakness. If I'm up for a possible, a promotion or something, and all of a sudden I go and tell my boss something, maybe that's going to affect it. But boy, if I go tell Brad something, I can talk through it with him and then have a way to go talk to that person about it.
I want to revisit what Char was saying as well, as far as the paragliding situation. It's like how does it take for a person to take that jump? And I think there's some good nuggets in there in alignment with what you just said, Brad. For instance, when we're getting ready to, if you have the dream to paraglide one day and you want to fly through the air on your own, the steps that you need to take are kind of evident when you look at the process, right? The first thing is, well, you're not going to just, go to a YouTube and jump unless you have a high tolerance for failure or high tolerance for risk, right? But the best thing is to get a coach, a person that has been there, done that can guide you through the process, that can show you how to train for it and how to use the equipment. The next is getting trust in your equipment and familiar with the tools that you need to be successful with, and practicing with those, and getting that competence up to where you yourself you have trust in yourself that you can do it. Right. And then the next is of course, is when you're actually getting ready to jump off the cliff, there's those elements out there that you have to be aware of. I can't control some of this. I can trust in my equipment and the tools, and I can trust in my training. But I know that the wind is judged by, Mother Earth. I mean, I can look at the weather patterns and I can judge that, but that air current can come up and I need to be able to react to that and so forth. But that's something that I cannot control and get used to that. And so I think there's a lot of great factors there that in Char's example that show us how to make those dreams come true.
And the other thing that I'd add onto that is once you do all that, is the joy and the life you feel when you do it. I think, one thing I've seen in my life, because I just stayed comfortable doing what I did for so long, even though I didn't want to do it, I kind of got, almost, maybe dead's too strong a word, but I didn't have a lot of life. I just kind of was very, very stagnant. And I've learned more in the last 7 years that I've done this job because I've continued to learn and, push myself and so forth than if I just stayed in the same thing. And so that kind of goes back to my point too earlier, is that when we remind ourselves of the times we've had the most joy, it's usually when we've stepped out of our comfort zone and done something different and courageous, like Char was talking about, that allowed us to get that life and that joy that sometimes we lose when we're just in the day-to-day grind of, going from thing to thing to thing to thing.
Yeah. I mean, boy, if we all sat down and had a lot of bottles of wine, I'd tell you. But yeah, I mean, it's like when I jumped off the leap of faith of leaving this comfort lifestyle, and it's like, you leave comfort and then you lead into a life of growth. And it's very challenging for people to move their life into the world of growth and leave the life of comfort. But I've also seen, all those articles about people when they're on their deathbed and they say the things that they regret, and they regret that they never took the challenge of risk taking, or not only saying that they loved the people that they love and take care of the people that they love, but also leading the life of growth and exploring. And it's scary. It's very scary. And I think I'm myself and my colleagues here are all an example of this world. But I'm so proud of what you're doing, because I think, Brad, I do believe that we need a dream. What is the position? Dream officer, dream coach. I think that companies, and I've worked with 160,000, 170,000 employee companies. Okay. I think having a dream coach or some position like yours, and I think what Wendy was saying, to be able to say to your employees, we have a dream coach. We have a department that handles supporting employees with what their ambitions are, their dreams, their goals, and making it personalized. And even large companies, 100, 200,000 plus, or companies as small as mine, 30 or 15 size, I think employees really appreciate it, particularly those that are just developing their careers, to be able to say, okay, we acknowledge that you're in a, let's say you're at $20 an hour or $30 an hour or $16 an hour, whatever it is. But we believe in your dreams. We believe in your aspirations and your goals. And not only do we care about you in your current position, but we're going to help you design a career path and a career strategy to support your overall dreams and your entire livelihood. And for us to be able to tell employees that and support them and really show it, not just say it, but show that, is going to be major when it comes to retention strategy. And I think this is a new thing for everyone. So Brad, I think you'll see here we have a screen here. It's called the TMA method. And I just want to reference our sponsor of CompTeam and all that we do here with People Strategy Forum. And this is a great free tool for our listeners and colleagues that listen to us. We offer the TMA method, and I have to tell you, Brad, you might be interested in taking this free assessment, because I've used it with my own company, and I've done a non-traditional approach when it comes to performance management and career coaching and everything with my employees in every aspect of talent management strategy. And I will tell you that my company tripled its profits because of the way that we focused on positive psychology with our employees and focused on positive development and focusing on employees' dreams and ambitions. And this tool really, it was a way that I have done this with my company. And I would love to apply this to big companies actually someday. My dream, by the way, is to take this and transform this tool into big companies, just like I did with my small company. But we have free apps and free applications of how we do interviewing, onboarding, development, career development, and even offboarding or outplacement with our employees. And it's been phenomenal. So this is one of our sponsors. Hey, would you like to get a free assessment here, Brad?
Sure. Yeah, it sounds great. Yeah, I always love that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
It's definitely fun. And one thing that just to mention also, of course, TMA has been used in some very large organizations, such as Vodafone, Toshiba, and so forth, but definitely applying it in as a client it would be awesome to see the impact of how this happens for organizations. But also I wanted to just interrupt real quick to also introduce our speaker for next week as well, as we're coming to the top of the hour. We're going to be having Ravin is going to be joining us he's the consultant at Mercer, and he's going to be talking about the future of work. He's also the author of Work Without Jobs. And of course, that doesn't mean we're going to be out of work, of course. I mean, it means what's the future of restructuring how work is done? And it may not be in the job format as we see today, but more in projects or skill sets that we apply to them. So I've been reading Robin's book here, and I've been finding it very interesting. So I encourage you to take a look at that and join us next week on the People Strategy Forum.
So thank you so much, Brad. It's been fantastic. I love this. I mean, initially when I heard your topic, I was thinking, what did I dream about last night? Remember those dream books that we had? Like, how do you decipher your dream?
Yep.
What do you think of those old dream books? Actually, I'm kind of curious.
I never read them, but I unfortunately I've never been able to remember too many of my dreams. But it's funny because when I first started this job and we rolled it out to our employees, I kind of used that as an opener when we kind of did a big presentation to the employees, I kind of said, hey, I'm sure you all wonder what this is. Well, if anybody has any dreams that they'd like to share, I'll decipher what that is. And then I, say, yeah, well, I don't really do that, but.
Yeah, it's funny because, I had a dream book when I was a kid, and it's like, well, if you dream of, so for example, the lady that what's that the lady that had the gun house in California, what's that house?
Winchester
House. And I had a dream that I was walking through that house, which I've never been through, and you walk up all the staircases and the doorways, and you never know where the stairs and the doorways lead, and I've never visited that. But then I realized that my mom had visited that place. And then my mom had talked about the orange trees and everything. And I'm like, what does that symbolize? Like walking up invisible staircases and invisible doors. And, my mom and I had some great conversations. Like, what does this mean for my future? What's this mean for our future? So, but no, I think dreams are one thing, but also I think dreams in reality as far as aspiring for what you ambition for. And I do think it's a little bit of no offense, guys, I think it's a little bit of a softer side of leadership. And I believe it's not about gender or femininity or male masculinity. I think a lot of companies really need to open up their hearts and minds to how they connect with their employees, and really connect from an emotional level of how they talk with their employees and how they talk about dreams and ambitions, and maybe more of a non-pragmatic numbers, no offense, Howard and Sam, pragmatic numbers way, right?
I totally agree with that, Char. In fact, I've often said that I think every leader or manager should be a dream coach. Because I think when you lead like that, it just, when you lead like that and people see that you care about them, then they're going to perform for you. I mean, it's just going to be a natural, and they're going to, if it's easier to have the tough conversations when you need to have them, it's easier to get what you need, from them, because they know you care about them as a person, not just as a employee or somebody that's helping them do something. You're helping them do what they want to do.
Yeah, it's not like you're just a number cruncher or a productivity person. You get so many widgets out per hour. I mean, I think it's really important to really connect with people about what their dreams are and what their ambitions and goals are. I think it's so fantastic. And so thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Wendy, for helping us connect here. It's so awesome.
It's all about best friends from the 5th grade, Gotta
You guys
keep those good friends.
You guys know each
She's
other? Huh?
my friend who introduced me to Brad.
Oh, that's so sweet. See how the work? They all are just synergistic there.
And before we run out of time, I wanted to hear the 5 H's again slowly so I could put it in the chat for everyone, because I thought that was fun. Would you share those again with us?
Yeah,
Brad?
it's history, kind of, I tell people, I was born and raised, and just the highlights of your history so far, your heroes. What I'm trying to find out there is not necessarily the heroes, but who do you aspire to be like? Who inspires you, kind of thing. Your honeys, people you love and things you love to do, so you can kind of have things that, when you're in a tough situation or tough mood, what helps you get out of those kind of things, and, who helps you in life, those, mentors and stuff like that. Heartaches, just, what have you been through that's been hard, and how have you dealt with that? What's helped you get through that? And then hopes and dreams. What do you hope to achieve in your life, and what do you hope to want to do?
Wow, those are awesome.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I like that. And then the other thing I wanted to be sure to ask or mention is that I thought was interesting, and for people who are watching or listening, who maybe want to implement something like this in their company, you were very adamant that this be like a separation of church and state at your company, right? So your role had to be, because I think that's another piece with HR is like, people don't want to come to HR because they don't trust you, because then it goes in your file, and then, all this stuff. And so to have a truly, and I think this is important for us to all talk about and think about, because we comp team and Tma Method, we're so passionate about caring about the individual, like from bringing them in to helping them progress, with whether it's in the company or even helping them find their dream job outside of the company. That as employers and as leaders, we have to care about the person and not be so tied to them being at our company. And that this role, to me, feels very much like that. And so the fact that you have that separation allows for that trust that maybe we don't have in these traditional HR roles.
Yeah, that was a very key point that when we set this up is, and you said it very well, Wendy, is unfortunately, and everybody I've always met in HR are wonderful people, but people do have that perception that if I tell that person something, it is going to go in my file, and how is that going to be used? And so we have, the way we're set up is I have a dotted line to our CEO, and that's my reporting. And I think people have seen over the years that I mean, I'm glad you didn't ask the question, because a lot of times people ask me the question, well, tell me some stories about what people have talked to you about. I don't like to do that, because that's, that just kind of starts to soften up the confidentiality piece. And I've been very blessed that my company just doesn't ask me anything. I mean, I've been very fortunate that they get enough feedback that I don't give them any reports, and there's no way to measure what I do. I mean, you can't, put necessarily a bottom line, number to it, but I think people see the engagement, the progress people have made. We've had a lot of people that have gotten, promoted and have created their own jobs, different things like that have benefited the company by initially talking through things with me. So we've seen great progress from it, but it's something I think you have to keep it separate, because if they feel like it's tied to HR, it's going to be something that I think people are going to they're not going to use it as much as you'd probably like them to use it.
Hallelujah. I totally agree. As a HR person, I totally agree. I think that's right. I'm hoping HR will transform and help acknowledge this new nugget of transformation.
Yes.
One other final reflection is just that for me, another interesting piece about this story is that it's the insurance world, which I came from insurance and was so traditional and old fashioned. And so I was really like caught off guard that they had this role, at a traditionally, kind of financial institution. And also I remember looking at it online, you were actually expanding, and you have other people it's not just you. And so that's cool. And I remember seeing that there was a part-time position and a remote position, and it was really just, you guys were showing the flexibility and really innovativeness and in your industry as a leader. So I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. We are kind of an old stoic company or industry, and so I think that's, quite frankly, probably the thing I'm most proud about in the position is that even though I am retiring, that they saw the value of it to not only replace me, but have additional people to do that and talk to our employees, as we've grown and had that growth and need more people to do that.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Brad. I mean, it's been sharing your career and your stories. This has been very insightful, and thank you for sharing it with our listeners.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you, everyone. We're going to close up, and thank you. And we hope to see you next week on our next People Strategy Forum. So thank you, Brad. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you,
everyone.
Who's
Bye.
Have
listening
a
in
great rest of
today.
your week.